What's up, everyone? Welcome back to Echoes of Elsewhere, the podcast where we explore the stories behind forgotten spaces and the echoes they leave behind. I'm your host, Courtney Autumn, and today's episode is extra special because this is the season 2 finale. And damn, what a season it's been. I'm going to be talking about 100 abandoned places explored, new friendships made, memories sealed into dust, and even a few unforgettable interview moments from both seasons. So whether you're a longtime listener or just now crawling through the metaphorical broken window, thank you for being here. Let's take a walk through the past 7 months together. Let's start with the milestone I never expected to hit so soon. 100 abandoned places explored since launching this podcast and diving back into Urbex. Some were quick, some were full day missions, some left me breathless, and a few, well, they gave me moments like this one. What is that? Is that a house or a barn? Oh, that just looks like a barn.
Oh, is it?
I think.
Oh, yeah.
It is, right?
Oh, fucking hell, shit. God help me, Jesus. Oh,
we hate the vultures. They're not always glamorous, but that is the beauty of it. These places aren't just backdrops, they are time capsules, and each one gave me something, a moment, a mystery, or a memory that I will never forget. One of the most powerful parts of this podcast has been the people, the explorers, the storytellers, artists, and everyday legends who sat down with me and opened up about both Urbex and their personal lives. And honestly, y'all have given me some of the funniest moments this show has had so far. Here are just a few of my favorites.
To experience.
Have you ever taken someone that doesn't get it and they're just like, I don't get it. Like, I'm bored.
No. I think most of the time they're like, oh, this is kind of cool. But I don't think I've ever had anybody that I've brought for their first time fully dive in, like after do their own thing.
Yeah, that was going to be my next question. If you've ever had someone become super enthralled and obsessed with it.
Not really. I think I've taken a couple people like a few times, but they've never gone and done their own thing.
But the worst part about it was I took her to Turkey.
No.
Like on a separate trip, and got a tattoo.
No.
And it's a picture that I took of her and I.
No.
At a castle in France. And I had asked her before the tattoo, I was like, should I get this? And she said, I don't think you should, but she wasn't trying to convince me otherwise.
She said, I don't think you should.
She said, I don't think you should, but that's all. I'm like, you really...
But then you still did.
Yeah, but...
Carter.
I know, it's dumb. It was dumb. Thankfully,
my daughter, we went to a signing near my hometown, and my ex-wife did that first book, and then I did this book. And the woman who was over the signing was doing a Q&A, and she said, Lacey, do you plan on writing a book? Your mom has one, your dad has one. And she goes, I'm probably going to write a real book. I was like, damn.
Oh my God.
Damn.
I'm trying to think, like, what the dumbest thing we've done.
Oh, I know. When
What?
you just straight let me walk into that active trailer.
Oh my gosh! Yes. Oh, that
And
was.
you said, it smells fresh.
It smells fresh in here. And your face when you turned around, you were like mouthing, "There's somebody in here." The lights blinking on the stove, and I was like, "Oh snap! Yep."
I walked almost
full on into that
It was, I mean, completely occupied.
Yeah.
You know, I'm always like thinking of the crazy shit that could happen. Because I think that you have to. You can never, you know, not be prepared for the worst. You're not exempt from bad shit happening, obviously. Like, we know that. So, yeah, I'm super freaking worried about you. Always when you're gone.
Even when I'm with Carrie?
I mean, I worry about both of y'all. Especially now listening to your episode, your last episode together.
We're not
It
that
didn't
bad.
make me feel better.
We're not that bad.
It didn't comfort me.
We keep each other in check.
I hope so.
Okay.
Yeah, I don't feel like I ever had like fear to say for that, and I wasn't afraid of any elements or anything like that because I never grew up like afraid of bugs or to pick up beetles off the ground or pick up grasshoppers, lizards, catch them and like clamp them on my ear or some shit. Like I was that weirdo that did not. I knew that they weren't going to truly hurt me. Now I ain't trying to pick up like the blue skinks that have like poison they inject out and then and shit.
No
or like be like, ooh, look at this viper. I'm gonna go put the snake's head in my mouth. Like.
I'm gonna eat
The
it.
stupidest of stuff. Like I'm never out doing that. Like let me eat and chew on this beehive. Like no, like why?
And that leads me right into showing some gratitude for the guests who showed up for season 2 to sit down with me for interviews. Nola Deej, Clover Frog, Keeper of the Second, Bando Fam, John Lazaro, Backroads to Abandoned, my partner Meredith, and my best friend Brandon. A huge shout out to all of you and thank you so much for your time and your contribution to season 2 of Echoes of Elsewhere. Since launching this podcast, I have made more genuine connections than I have in years. This podcast introduced me to people that I used to admire from a distance. And now we're swapping stories, sharing locations, respectfully, of course, and building something together. A huge shout out to those people. Backroads to Abandoned, of course. Bando Fam, Peril Photography, Rose Urbex, Abandoned Broad, Go West Wanderlust, Luke Explores, and Exploring with Ty. I didn't just return to urban exploring, I found my people again. And if you're one of them, whether we've met in person or not, I am really glad that you're here. Now let's get a little quieter for a second. Some of the places that I have explored over the last 2 seasons are sadly already gone or are in the process of being gone. Whether it's fires, bulldozers, progress, neglect, whatever the cause, the result is the same. Silence where there used to be a story. So here is a quick shout out to the ones that I got to visit before they disappeared. Flintstone's Mansion, of course, which I did a separate episode on. There was a beautiful old home that I luckily got to explore with my partner Meredith called the Simon Wingard Estate. I'm not really sure about that, honestly. I tried to source out Facebook group members and no one could tell me for sure what this property was called. So for now, that's what it's called. Anyways, it was a really beautiful old home. It had sat around for many, many, many years. I'm honestly shocked still that it has been torn down and demolished. And I assume it is going to be some sort of new development. But in any case, I am really sad that it's gone. Not that I'm not sad about the other ones, but pretty surprised about this one. And then last but not least is Doomsday Mansion, which right now is still standing. But I took a recent trip out there with Backroads to Abandoned and Go West Wanderlust, and I was honestly shocked to see the amount of chaos that has gone on in there since the last time I was in there, which wasn't really all that long ago. But it was also, like the Flintstones Mansion, one of the first places that I explored when I got into urbex again. So in any case, I do know that it has been sold to a developer and they plan to bulldoze it down and build a subdivision. So at least that's what I heard. I don't know how true that is. As always, don't quote me on anything on here. But I do think it's in its final days, and it will probably be gone sooner rather than later. So those are my 3 that are now gone or almost gone that I was lucky enough to visit before their final days. So yeah, just wanted to shout those out. I know that there's other places in the Urbex community that have either been demoed. I think Six Flags I can safely shout out. Six Flags New Orleans has been demoed or is underway still. I'm not really sure which of the two, but anyway, that's another one that is no longer with us. And I think that there's a plantation house out in Tennessee that was pretty well known that also burned down earlier this year, or maybe last year, I can't quite remember. And I think there was a really well-known resort that went up into flames earlier this year. So this year's just been really rough on the Urbex community as far as some of the really cool spots getting ruined, completely ruined. So these places might be gone, but their echoes live on this podcast and in the photos and in all of us who remember them. Okay. On to the next segment, which was really difficult, you guys, but I thought it would be fun to end the season by sharing my personal top 10 bandos I've explored so far. These are not ranked by clout or aesthetics, just by impact. These are the ones I still think about at 2 a.m., the ones that made me feel something. Number 10 is actually the first place I ever explored. It's an abandoned school, not too far away from me, but it is the first place that I ever explored in 2009, and I've been there many times since starting this podcast, and it's just always a cool place to revisit, and obviously it has special meaning to me because of the fact that it's the first place I ever explored in my life, but also that it's still standing because the inside is completely wrecked, obviously, as you can imagine. I think it's been closed and abandoned for probably close to 2 decades, if I had to guess. And it is just a mess in there. But it just holds a special place in my heart, regardless of the state it's in, because it's the first place that I explored. And it's a place that I like to sometimes take other explorers to when I'm meeting them, especially the ones who like schools. So it's just it's a neat spot. Number 9 is what is known as the teacher's house in the Urbex community, and I think I've mentioned it a few times on this podcast, but I spent a really, really long time trying to track this one down on Google Maps. I know you guys have heard me say I'm really stubborn, so I don't like to often ask for locations. I like to do the research. That's really part of why I love doing Urbex so much. So it's not really about being stubborn either. It's just that this is part of what I like to do. So it took me, I don't know, it took me months to find it, and I found it by accident one day. Even though I've spent countless hours looking strategically for the specific house, I stumbled upon it on accident. And once I did, I think I went out there the next day. And my partner Meredith went with me, and she's been on explores with me before, but she doesn't often go on explores. So it was special because she was with me, but also because I spent forever looking for it and finally found it. So it just felt like a huge accomplishment. And it's a house that I saw Abandoned Southeast do some years ago. And once he posted it on his blog, I fell absolutely in love. And I saw very few people do it after that. Not that it hasn't been done, obviously it has, but I've seen very few explorers be there. And I think that made it more intriguing. And not that it's a secret or anything. Obviously people know about it and people have been there and documented it. But at the time when I first saw it, it was not heavily documented. And that really piqued my interest even more. So the teacher's house is number 9 for me, and also because it's one of the most beautiful time capsule houses I've been into so far, so it's just a whole experience. Number 8 is a old plantation that Backroads to Abandon and I went out to, and I just happened to find it one day on maps, and it was just perfectly timed where Backroads and I had already had a plan together to go explore in the upcoming days, so I added it to our map, and it actually turned into a really solid day of explores that day. But it was definitely the highlight of our day that day, and where do I begin? The experience is a highlight, the place itself is a highlight, the fact that Backroads was with me is a highlight, the whole thing. But long story short, it's a beautiful, huge plantation house. There was stuff in it. We had a great time in there. And then it turned into a funny story because as we were exploring this plantation house, we heard people outside and we didn't really know what we were going to do. We kept hearing them get closer. And then at one point they ended up at the front door of the house. And we didn't know if they were other explorers or what was going on. So we made our presence known, and that was really funny because we were like, hello, and then they shouted, hello, and then we shouted hello back, and one of the ladies was like, is there an echo? And she didn't realize that there were actual voices responding to her.
Hello?
Hello?
Hi?
Stop that. Don't say that. Hello?
Hi?
Hello?
Hello?
Was it echo?
No?
I don't know, but I definitely heard something. Hello?
Hello?
Who's here?
Where?
Okay, we'll leave me now.
No, you're fine.
You're
We're just
fine.
exploring.
We're just exploring. Yes. We just didn't want to scare you. We just.
Downstairs.
We're coming down.
We're coming down.
Oh, you're coming down.
We just didn't want to scare you.
So it just turned into a really funny situation, but we ended up being greeted by a few women outside, and they were on a walk with some dogs, and they just happened to be family of the owner of the house. So we got a little bit of the backstory of the house and some insight on the family. So it just turned into a pretty interesting explore that day, but it was also super amazing. And Backroads and I constantly talk about going back. So that one definitely had to go on this list of my top 10 bandos. The next is a strip club that Backroads and I found, and that one was so wild because we were driving out to a house that was on our map, and while we were on the way there, we passed this club and we could tell it was abandoned, so we pulled off on a street so we could turn around and go back to it. And right when we were doing that, Backroads and I were just saying how we always wanted to explore a strip club, and then lo and behold, we walk into this abandoned club, not at all expecting it to be a strip club because that's actually very hard to find. So when we walked in and we saw that it was a strip club, we were geeking, like we were just freaking out. So it was almost like we spoke it into existence somehow. But that one was obviously my favorite just because it's a strip club. They are kind of hard to find, but also because, again, it was just one of those experiences that is very memorable, and it was fun. It was a really fun explore. The next one is kind of similar in nature, which was a roadside diner, and I had just been on this roadside diner frenzy where I really, really wanted to get into a diner. And Backroads, again, shout out to Backroads. She's just like my ride or die when it comes to urbex, but Backroads knew about this abandoned diner and she took me to it, and we almost could not get in, and we were just about to call it quits and walk away, and then we figured out a way in, and she was lovely enough to assist me in that process and be the lookout and the getaway driver. So I got to hop in that little roadside diner and take a bunch of pictures and videos and come right back out and be on our way. So that was just a good, solid best friend move, you know, to not even worry about yourself going back in the diner because she had done it already. So she just forfeited her explore so I could go in and we could feel safe about it. So again, shout out to Backroads. She's just a gem. The next on my list, number 5, is called Red Bank Mill. No one try to go out there. It is watched very closely, and I will tell you why. When my partner Meredith and I went out there, we pulled up. There's like a little gate, first off, that's normally closed, so you can't even get in usually. But when we pulled up, it was open, and we park and we get out, and there's a huge water tower there. So we're taking pictures, and then this little truck rolls up, and this dude kind of stops. So I go walking over to the truck, and I'm asking him, if we can take pictures and so on and so forth. And he basically said he was coming to lock the gate up, and it's the end of his day and he's ready to go home. So he gave us 10 minutes graciously to run in and take as many pictures as we could, and I did. I took like 100 pictures in 10 minutes. And Meredith was just running around like crazy with me, and she took a couple pictures of me, and then that was that. And he was just the sweetest guy about it. I still want to go back there and give him some of the prints from some of the pictures I took there that day. But it also ended up being kind of a full circle situation, because when we were going back through the pictures that we took out there, Meredith pointed out in one of the pictures of me standing in front of kind of this brick wall where you could see the water tower peering out over the top. It looks like my logo for this podcast. And it was just such a weird moment, because she was like, oh my gosh, look, it looks just like your logo. And I'd obviously already had this logo for a few months at this point. So it just seemed like such a fitting place and experience. And yeah, I want to try to go back there one day, like I said, to give that guy that graciously allowed us 10 minutes to take pictures, some of the prints of the pictures I took, but also to see if maybe he'll give me 20 minutes next time. Anyways, moving along to number 4 is a house that I called Fever Dream, and it is just a really beautiful house in South Carolina. It is actually the house where Peril Photography did a photo shoot of me, and it is the first photo shoot I've ever. So it's just a super special explore, but the house itself is really quite something, and that's for several different reasons. But the primary reason is there's this beautiful wall that most urbexers know well, and it has a mural on it of some sort of plantation or some sort of, I don't even know what it is, but it's just a really beautiful big mural wall. The house itself has a lot of vintage elements, and there's one bedroom with 2 beds, and the beds have blood on them, or the sheets do anyway. So I don't know exactly what that's about. I've tried to look up some history on the address of the house to see if any kind of news reports or anything come up, and I have not been able to uncover that. So I'm hoping the blood that's on the beds there is not because of any sort of foul play, but who knows. In any case, it's a beautiful house, and like I said, it's special to me because Peril Photography was kind enough to do a photo shoot of me there, and I had never done that before, so it was just a cool journey, a cool experience, and also a really, really cool house. Moving along to number 3 is what is known in the urbex community as the Clown House, and I'm sure if you follow me on social media, you know exactly what I'm talking about. I just posted it recently, and I went and explored it with Tyler. Shout out to Exploring with Ty. And yeah, it was a super fun explore, a super fun day. And the house itself is one I had been wanting to see for a few months. And it's just a super vintage, lovely house. I love it. The aesthetic is just to die for in there. And it's very much a time cap. And yeah, I mean, do I need to say more? It is called the Clown House because it belonged to an actual clown. There's just clown stuff all over the house, and it just has this really 1970s vintage kind of vibe to it. It's just very aesthetically appealing, especially if you do urbex and you like time capsules. it's a good one, and I am really glad that I got to see it in person finally. Number 2 on my list of top 10 bandos is the Flintstones Mansion. If you guys are regular listeners and you heard my last episode, then you know exactly why. But if you didn't, long story short is that the Flintstones Mansion is the reason why I got back into urbex. And sadly, in the beginning of July, it burned down. So it is no longer with us. I mean, parts of it are, but not much of it. So it is on my list because when it was intact, it was one of my favorites, but it's still one of my favorites even today because of how bittersweet the situation is. And last but not least, my number 1 favorite Bando Explored is the Doomsday Mansion, which I have talked about before. I'm sure you've seen it on YouTube, social media. If you follow me on social media, I've definitely posted about it. I actually just posted about it yesterday. And like I mentioned earlier, it's in its final days. It is probably going to get torn down soon because it was just recently bought by a developer. But yeah, it's just super special to me because like I said earlier, it was one of the first abandoned places I explored when getting back into urbex. In addition to the fact that the house itself is just so unique and exquisite, and you can tell that the person who built it really put a lot of thought into how they wanted this home to be built. So it's actually really sad to see it go, not just because it's another bando that's going to be gone, but also because it is one of the most well thought out builds I think I've been into so far. And it's also very 1970s. I think it was built in 1979 or 1978 or something like that. And it just has all kinds of symmetry, and it's a solar passive design, so all this natural light gets in, and it's just remarkable. It's just one of my favorite places. I'm really in love with that house. If I could have bought it and just kept it the way it is, I probably would have. I would have fixed it, and obviously, you know, all these explorers would have had to stop coming to it, but in any case, it is one of my favorite places, and I think it always will be, and it is also part of why this podcast exists. So shout out to Doomsday and to the rest of my top 10, but also all the other ones I've explored. They all have some sort of special place in my heart. So what is next? Well, season 3 is already in motion, and I've got some exciting things planned. New interviews, deeper stories, more behind the scenes of the exploring life, and maybe even a few risky trips. But no matter where it goes, Echoes of Elsewhere will always be about honoring the forgotten, telling real stories, and staying true to the roots of this community. And to every single one of you who's listened, shared, messaged, or explored alongside me, thank you so much. This podcast exists because of you guys. And that wraps up this episode and season 2 of Echoes of Elsewhere. If you haven't already, make sure you subscribe to the podcast so you don't miss the start of season 3 or any episode after. And if you enjoyed this episode, please leave a review for the podcast. It means more than you know. Again, thank you for all of your support these last 7 months. It has been a beautiful and adventure-filled ride, and I couldn't have done it without any of you. Season 3 will begin on August 22nd, so don't forget to mark your calendars and follow me on social media at Urbex Echoes. As always, my social media and the links to my website will be listed in the description. Until next time, keep exploring the allure and the abandoned, the beauty of decay, and the echoes of elsewhere.